Hello, everyone around the world. This is Momo, and I have a dear guest on, Marius. Last time I had him on, it was on BitGuide, the English section, which has now turned to 21st Capital. We dove into a fascinating conversation about the Bitcoin revolution in Iran, a deep journalistic piece that explored a rarely covered topic. Today, he's back, but this time as a filmmaker. He's just released a powerful documentary titled From the Most Dangerous Place in the World to the Bitcoin Country, El Salvador's Transformation. We're going to talk about what he witnessed on the ground. Sorry for my dog. The story
No problem.
behind the film and what El Salvador's bold Bitcoin experiment really looks like beyond the headlines. Marius, welcome.
Hey, thank you for this great introduction. And yeah, it's great to be back. I think it was 1 year ago that we made this call because I was writing a report about Bitcoin in Iran. Now it's Bitcoin in El Salvador, so another place. And yeah, I'm happy to be there, to be here.
I really congratulate you on the great work that you have done. I had the privilege of seeing the video unlisted. I don't know, are you going to release it publicly soon, or is it released on some other platforms?
It is released. The version I sent you is the English version. So the original one is in French. So it have been released over a week now. It was last Thursday of March. And so we just published the AI translated version. And because it's not so perfect, we just put it in unlisted. So people, like English speakers can see it as well, because I have met lots of English speakers in El Salvador, Spanish speakers, and also I have lots of English speaker contacts just like you. So I thought it would be good to have an English version, even if it makes, I don't know, 200 views. It doesn't matter. It's more to share the work to other communities.
Yeah, awesome. I really recommend that you publish it publicly because there are more English speakers. Even I am not a native English speaker, but I can still benefit from that. There are more people that can benefit from it, so the world needs it. And what I liked about it, and what I wanted to congratulate you on, was the fact that you didn't get too excited about the fact that it is a Bitcoin country, that Nayib Bukele is for Bitcoin. You even interviewed his opposition, different views of people about Bitcoin, about the history of the country being gang infested and then changing. So you covered everything. Of course, everyone has their own views. You also present your views, but you do not force it upon the viewer. I really congratulate you on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really important for me to, just like I did with my previous work, to be maybe not neutral, because neutral is almost impossible to be. Of course, there is always a bit of me in what I do, but to be at least objective. So it was important to show the pros Bukele and the opposites. And so that's why we interviewed Claudia Ortiz, which is the main opponent to Bukele, and also people who are more nuanced, who like Bitcoin, some don't like Bitcoin, and some like Bukele, some don't really like him. And yeah, so the goal was to present the situation, explain how it is, what changed, what's happening in objective point of view, and giving the mic to locals, to Salvadorians, or to people who have been there for many years, and yeah, just to show what's the truth, what's the truth, and not just, oh, nice, it's a Bitcoin country, Bukele is the greatest because he makes a Bitcoin legal tender. No, we don't care. It's like Bitcoin legal tender doesn't mean anything because most of the Salvadorians don't use it. So we have to understand why. And this is what's the most interesting. I think Bitcoin is a tool for individuals, and I don't like all this ETF, reserve, strategic reserve, and everything. I don't care that people do it. It's just, in my opinion, it's useless for Bitcoin because it's a tool for individuals and not for companies, not for states or anything. So I try to give a bit of this and show, okay, Bitcoin is for individuals, and here is what Salvadorians do with education, with how is the adoption, why it failed in some ways, why it succeeded in some others, and yeah, just to show the truth and not to put Bukele or any person in the highlight, and because Bitcoin shouldn't be hidden behind one entity.
Yeah, that's true, and it's not a good idea to put these people on pedestal. They are politicians anyway, and something that you covered in the documentary was about the IMF loan. Now, probably, maybe when you finalize the interview and during the post-production, some of the information was not still out there. What is your evaluation of this very controversial topic that IMF gave a loan to El Salvador and they are forbidden from buying Bitcoin, even adding Bitcoin to their reserves? What do you think about this IMF, these regulations, these or conditions set as a part of the contract with IMF? How is it going to change things? What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, like you said, I was in El Salvador for months in November, where I had all these interviews, and it's just maybe 1 week after I came back, maybe second week of December, if I remember well. There were this news about IMF and El Salvador making an agreement and deleting or withdrawing some articles in the law. So at this moment, I was like, what's happening? I don't understand. Like, it's really blurry, and maybe I would have done this months of trip for nothing. But in the end, when you look closely, it's more nuanced. So what changes is that now businesses are not forced to accept anymore, which is a law that was in the like an article that was in the Bitcoin law, but never have been applied. Maybe people was threatened to have some, I don't know, penalties at the beginning, but in the end, no one was really forced to accept Bitcoin in El Salvador, even though the law said so. For example, when I was there, well, there was still no agreement with the IMF. My Bitcoin payments have been refused in many shops, and there's another article that in the law that can explain that says that Salvadorians business can accept it, can refuse to accept it if they don't have the tools, the technological tools to make it. So of course it's a poor country, so the smallest businesses cannot really accept it. It's complicated for them. But then we could expect that if we go in malls, in big shops, or in McDonald's or other great like international companies, then we would say, okay, so they must have the tool and they must accept Bitcoin. But then when you go there, it's completely different. Not all McDonald's accept it. Not all, for example, I have been to Pizza Hut, Office Depot, and some big shops like that, and they all refused. Not all, but most of them refused. So this law, even though it's now removed, it never have been applied. So in the end, it doesn't change anything. The second thing that changes with this Bitcoin law is that the government will have to end the Chivo wallet. So either they will have to close the Chivo wallet or to sell it. And the Chivo wallet have been a big topic, something that many Bitcoiners have been talking about since the beginning, since 2021, that it's not good because it's a custodial wallet managed by the government, so it's censorable and it's not Bitcoin spirit. And we could also see that it makes, I think, 1 or 2 years that there is no update on the wallet. So maybe even the government was already forgetting this wallet and stop investing in it. And yeah, so in the end, the IMF forcing the Salvador to end the Chivo wallet is a good thing, even for Bitcoiner, and it's what Bitcoiner maximalists have been asking for since a long time. The third thing is about the taxation. So now the government cannot accept Bitcoin to pay taxes, people cannot pay their taxes in Bitcoin anymore, which is quite the worst article, even though it's not really a problem because it concerns just a minority of Salvadorians that were already using Bitcoin. And even though those who were using Bitcoin, they were using Bitcoin as only part of their money, at least most of them. So they still have dollars to pay their taxes. And also, even though they have only Bitcoin, then they can just exchange it. Just as there is still the Bitcoin law in action, then they will not pay any capital gain taxes on it. So they will just have to exchange in dollars and then to pay. So it will make just one step more. And in the end, we can say that it will just be just more complicated just because they will have to sell it. But it doesn't change anything in the end. And the last thing is about this investment, like you mentioned, the IMF said that they wanted the El Salvador to stop buying. And the thing is, this news have been really blurry, and medias have been sharing it in a non-really clear way. Because what the paper of the IMF said is that the Bitcoin purchase from El Salvador, from the government of El Salvador, will be restricted. But then what is restricted? Is restricted buying one Bitcoin is already too much? Or is it 10 Bitcoin is restricted? Like, what is the limit of this restriction? We don't know. They were just saying restricted. And so after this announcement in December, El Salvador continued to make purchase. Because they had a DCA since 2022 where they were buying one Bitcoin every day. But after this announcement, they were even buying more. Some days they were buying 10, 11 Bitcoin in one day. So we were like, okay, so what is restricted? Maybe in their agreement that we don't have access to, maybe the restriction is a dollar amount or a Bitcoin amount. Maybe it's 20 Bitcoin that will be over the limit. But we don't know because it's unclear. And recently, I think it's in March, the beginning of March, the IMF made another request. And this time they made it clear that they wanted the El Salvador to completely stop buying Bitcoin. And this was after the agreement, probably, so after the signature. And so it appears that Bukele just refused. And just after this request from the IMF, El Salvador just showed that they bought again, that they sent Bitcoin to their public address, and that's all. And he tweeted just after and said, "No, we'll not stop, even though the IMF asked this. We'll not stop buying Bitcoin." So, in the end, the impact is more in the ideas, in the medias. So the IMF can say, "Hey, look, Bitcoin is not a legal tender anymore because the companies are not forced to accept Bitcoin anymore, and the taxes cannot be paid in Bitcoin anymore. So it's not legal tender anymore. We won." But when we see at the El Salvador position, then nothing changed. Basically, the other trend is still the same. The education initiatives are still going on. People can still use Bitcoin, and it's still a Bitcoin-friendly country. So yeah,
Okay, good.
this is a long
Yeah,
resume.
yeah, the government doesn't have to buy Bitcoin. I am saying that it doesn't even have to make it the legal tender. I was disappointed to hear that they are making it a legal tender and forcing people to accept it. What if you do not want to accept it? I had an interview with a friend, Paul Keating, and it is on 21st Capital in this interview. We were talking about Costa Rica, and in that country, people have the option to accept payment in other currencies. I mean, it's a very good example of government getting out of the way. And about
Yeah, for
Chivo,
sure.
go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, as a government, I think if you really want, like, let's say you are a president who's listening to us right now, but if you want to push Bitcoin in your country, then just make a law with zero capital gains, with maybe some education in schools, and that's all. Like, you just need this, and people will be okay. I have national currency, I have Bitcoin. What will I choose? And they will see that people who use Bitcoin will be stronger over the time, and just natural selection will do the work, and people will just learn about it, and it will go on its own.
And the fact that people are selfish. I am into Bitcoin because I do not want to be in the rat race all my life and just fight for the amount of money that I have earned and try to keep its value or slow down its depreciation over time. I want to be able to buy things, at least the same things, with the money that I have earned today, tomorrow. And this is not something that fiat money guarantees. We live in somehow probably better countries with respect to monetary policies. It's going to change very soon, though, uh, with the things that we hear from European Union about CBDCs and stuff like that. We can talk about that too. But still, we have that problem. And we visibly see how things change. I used to get a steak for something like 15 zloty, which was something like $4-5, and it was a very fulfilling, good portion. Now the steaks have, a plastic package with some paper on the top, and you see the steak in the plastic part, but when in the past, behind the paper was still steak. Now the price has gone up, maybe by $1 more, and under the paper sticker there is no steak at all. So it has shrunk in size and it has increased in price, and it is a country that whose money does not depreciate that much.
Yeah, you can also see that with the Big Mac index. When you see the picture from the Big Mac
Yes.
in the 80s, who was big with big bread, big steaks, and now it's small, flat, has no taste, and the price is triple the or even more. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, the price is wild. I was in a cafe, in a hot dog restaurant that was maybe 50s themed, and it was $0.5, something 50 cents for one hot
Yeah.
dog. Now it is impossible to buy a hot dog with that price in anywhere around the world.
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, and so in terms of Bitcoin adoption, people say, yeah, but Bitcoin is the best store of value. Why would I spend it? But so of course it's hard to convince these people. But let's say in 10 years, euro is devaluing like hyperinflation or just high inflation, 10-20%. Same for the dollar and everything. Then who will, as a business, accept these fiats? Who will really accept them? They will be, no, I prefer you to pay me in Bitcoin. And those who will protect their more value over the time, and those who won't, they will be struggling more. So little by little, like I said, natural selection will make the job, and that's why you just have to incentivize the use of Bitcoin and not to force it. And the work will go on alone. And as usually when the government forces something, it's never good, and it never happens how the government wants. All the, I don't know, we can see, for example, with this chat control law in the EU, which have been refused. If it is accepted one day, then it will for sure have the opposite effect that it had. It will just uh, be bad for honest users and the, the, the I know the criminals who use this encrypted chat bots or chat conversation like applications. Then they will just use another one, and the problem will be still the same. So in general, when the government does do something, please just go far away from it. And same topic with Chivo and CBDCs.
Yeah, and kudos to those criminals. They know the way. They know how to use those encrypted things. Why would we deprive normal people, law-abiding citizens, from this, so they don't have any more privacy? We cannot justify any invasion on privacy just for safety, for imprisoning the child molester. Everyone in their right mind, except for child molesters, would hate them and would
Yeah.
wish the worst for them. But would you want to put cameras in houses to prevent that? Then that's stupid, and that's what the law about chats is. Something about Chivo wallet and the disaster that it has been. You mentioned, so it is also a very good advice or a very good example to follow for us, that if our country or our politicians become Bitcoin friendly, they never use their wallets. That's not a good idea. Even if they incentivize you, the mere fact that they are going to incentivize you is not a good thing. And Bitcoin is a kind of voluntary thing. You don't have to pay $30 to people to use your wallet. No, just get out of the way and let people use that. This is, I think, one of the very important things in the documentary. So uh, just by not spoiling the whole thing, what highlights do you have for us about Chivo wallet in El Salvador?
Yeah, so Chivo is one of the worst Bitcoin Lightning wallets that exists today. It had at the launch, it had many bugs. People lost money because the transfer was just lost. It was a really bad custodial wallet. We can wonder why did they spend, I don't know how much they spent on the Chivo, but the government probably spent public money to build it when they could have just forked another wallet that already exists, and it would have been cheaper and also more efficient. But they failed because they wanted to make everything from zero, and which is good in the end because again, it's a government wallet, and Bitcoin shouldn't be controlled by any government. And then yeah, so it had bugs. It was a really bad wallet, and also there were lots of scams. People were stolen like their identities, and some people just withdraw the $30 that the government promised for them. And yeah, in general, it's really bad. And also, as a government, it's like, if you really want to push Bitcoin, why would you push people to use your wallet and not just make them understanding what is Bitcoin so they can get Bitcoin on their own? And this is the Bitcoin philosophy. It's you give tools to people, and then they do what they want, and they do them on their in their own way. So what I say in the which is, I'll make my conclusion in short to not spoil like you said, but it's I think instead of giving $30 to people, they could have gave $10 to people, but after them spending, I don't know, 1 day or 1 hour lesson on Bitcoin. So like that, the $20 difference could have been used to finance classes all day in the street, or I don't know, in schools or wherever. You can imagine many ways to communicate with the I don't know, $20 times millions of users who took this $30. So you could do anything. You could teach people, and if you would have done this, one, you would have lost less money, and also you would have users that are uh, better at Bitcoin, that understand it more, and maybe you would have less um, people using Bitcoin at the beginning, but at least you would have more smart, not smart, but more people aware of what Bitcoin is and how to use it and how to not get scammed. And then you would have avoided people from losing money and from just rejecting Bitcoin because they don't make the difference between Bitcoin and the Chivo wallet. So yeah, the whole launch was horrible.
Yeah, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth when you see that the Lightning wallet is the Chivo wallet is failing. You think that Bitcoin is failing,
Yeah.
but and we see it with other things that people use Trust Wallet, and when they want to transfer money, it says that there's a congestion on the Bitcoin blockchain. So they want to promote their own coin, so they say congestion on the Bitcoin blockchain. Well, there is a higher fee. There is no congestion if you pay the higher fee, even if it is 400 per byte. You will get your transaction through. It matters how much important it is to you. It is like high season, low seasons when it comes to flight tickets, yeah,
Mhm.
because there are a limited number of flights. But these wallets want to, kind of force user to do something, to use their own chain, or stuff like that. Or in the case of Chivo, they want to have better control. And unfortunately, one of the things, as you mentioned, was the breach of privacy of the users. So much of their information went away because not every download was equal to $30. Probably they had to do that KYC to get that $30, and there were some other hassles too. They had to make a purchase or something. There was some preconditions to that with this Chivo wallet, and they will equate that bad feeling with Bitcoin itself. And if I was a Bitcoin president, I wouldn't have even given that $10 for education. I wouldn't even have started my own wallet to begin with. I would have said that, okay, yeah, I will just not tax Bitcoin.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just if you really want to give them, why giving them $30? Because $30 equals to maybe 7 to 8% of month's salary. So it's like it's equal to maybe 1 or 2 days of daily salary to most of the Salvadorians. So it's a lot. But then if you really want to give them something to incentivize them to come, then why $30 when you could just use this money otherwise? And of course, I completely agree. If I was a president, I would just not give. I would just teach them to use it. It would be wiser for sure.
You're thinking of that, becoming the first French Bitcoin president?
I don't know. No. I think being a president is it's a lot, and I hope in the future that we'll just adopt a new system with no president, or at least with a president that will not have that much power. I think the next dictator in France, in Europe, will be in France, and the way it's turning is really bad. So yeah, French media likes to say that Bukele is the one of the worst dictator in the world, but I think we should look closely and look at our own and what he's doing.
Well, the El Salvadorian government did not arrest Pavel Durov, the creator of Telegram.
Yep, exactly.
Oh. Yeah, I can see how where it is heading. Things in my own country are not. I mean, in the country I am residing now, Poland, they are not going in a good direction at all. In Iran, it hasn't been going well. It's not going well at all at this rate. But yeah, bro, in France, it is really terrible. I don't want to be there.
Yeah, well, I'm not there anymore. It makes a while. I left. So some people think, because I left France in 2021, and some people think I left because of the taxes or anything. It's just, bro, it was after the COVID. I just was crazy, and I went to South America, and I just wanted to quit France. Just the mood is too bad. How the media goes, and I wasn't even that much a Bitcoiner back in the days, but when I see how it is, how France is turning since I left, I'm so happy that I left. And I would probably, if I wouldn't have, I would probably still leave today. So yeah, it's just really bad. The way, well, I will not go into details. We're here to talk about El Salvador, but the whole assembly process that is like the government is not even wanted by anyone. It's just Macron choosing, and yeah, we're fucked. And he does what everything he wants, and yeah, it's really scary.
Let's talk about this. Can you see yourself living in El Salvador, having experienced life there, and delving deeper into how it's changed in terms of the gang dominance, the gangsters dominance, the mafia dominance, and now it apparently it is safer. I'm hoping so, and also for a person who likes to use Bitcoin, at least some more people are freer in using Bitcoin there than other countries. Uh, how would you can you imagine yourself living in El Salvador, or if it is not El Salvador, what other countries would you think, and what are your criteria?
It's a difficult topic. There's many things to take in count. There's the weather. There is the I don't know, the climate, the environment. I mean, the quality of life. It's really hard because it's a really poor country, really hot. So if you're not used to to hot countries, then it's complicated. And in general, it's a beautiful country, but to live, it's quite hard. Like for me, it was quite hard when I arrived as a European that is used to just stay at my place and be comfortable and to I don't go out a lot, but when I go out, the city are clean, the people are there is no I know I don't see lots of poor people or anything. Is pretty safe and nice to go out where I live. But in El Salvador, it's more complicated. The streets are a bit dirty, nothing compared to Paris, of course. It's People are still benevolent and still happy. They are really happy to see tourists and everything. But it's really poor. And I think before living there, you have at least to see how it is and to experience how is it to live in a poor country. And uh, it's also hard to to be like as a foreigner coming in the country and trying to not impose your way to behave and everything. People have a different point of view, different values on on work. They are slower on many things. Well, it's a whole uh, rhythm of life to adopt differently, and also when you go there, you have to keep in mind that Western countries like Northern America, Europe, Australia, Japan, and everything, this is the exception in the world. Most of the people don't live in these conditions. Most of the people are poorer than Western countries. Uh, so yeah, to go back to the main question, I went a bit far. It's I couldn't maybe live 100% there because of these differences, and the quality of life is much better in Europe. Uh, but I think it would be nice to be part of the revolution that is happening um, in El Salvador, because probably over the 10, 20 years, the country will develop a lot and will become richer, and then it will become easier, like easier to move there. And I think if you're questioning yourself about moving there, the best, of course, is to go there once to see how it is, but also to think about how can I uh, uh, contribute to the community, to the El Salvador, and to not just be like, hey, I'm a rich guy and living on my savings, and that's all. I just go to the beach and buy coconuts and everything. Well, this would be good because you would still spend your money, so people will for sure like it. But I think if you want to move in the country, you also have to maybe create a business or at least participate in some way in the communities, in the city life or something. I think it's a better way to be included and to to just feel good in El Salvador, especially in a poor country like that.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing that you said, that you, apart from your money, you should be contributing something to the life there. That's very, that's a very logical thing to say, and very kind of altruistic things to say. And I could imagine myself going there and doing some Bitcoin education. But there is this thing: how safe do you think the country is going to stay? From the accounts of the people on your documentary, I realized that it was really unsafe, because sometimes you hear that place is not safe, that place is not safe, but it is all the hype in the media, and people go there, people post photos from there, or it is not that bad for tourists. But apparently it was bad. Now, with respect to crimes, it is really better, and the people testify to that. What happens if, for example, the opponent that you also interviewed, what was her name?
Claudia Ortiz.
What if Claudia Ortiz becomes the president? So there's this thing with the democracy. What if the president changes? Maybe Bitcoin is not going to be that kind of... It's not going to be used tax free. You have to pay taxes on any exchange of it, for any transaction in it. What are your fears about the future of El Salvador if Bukele leaves, and if Bukele stays, in both scenarios?
Yeah, it's a deep topic. When I was there at some point, I was wondering, okay, we are all in Bitcoin group and all Bitcoiners, foreigners that speak barely Spanish, at least just basics to make us understandable, but we're not fluent, and we can see on our face that we're not Salvadorian. So I was wondering, what if Bukele is just maybe killed, or maybe there is a coup d'état and it changes, and the person who takes the power is pro gangs or wants the gangs back. What happens to us? Like, what do we do? And some people were saying that in this case, we probably have to run away and to go to the border the fastest possible, and just to not come back, and to leave everything. Because if someone does this, then it's probably like maybe today, maybe in 20 years it will be different. But today, if someone does this, it's probably someone that has interest with the gangs. And if the gangs go out, the first person to who they will go, it's the Bukele allies, if we can say like that. So in those, there is mostly Bitcoiners. We can say, for example, Paolo Ardoino, which is the CEO of Tether and Bitfinex, is now living quite a lot in El Salvador. I think he has the Salvadoran passport now, and there is many people like that, foreigners going like that. I met there, living in El Salvador around El Zonte um, or anywhere, and so probably these people would be the the first target. And the question is, then yeah, so the first question was about safety. I think the so safety is now probably El Salvador is really safe in terms of there's no murders anymore, but in terms of maybe steal and I know violence, it's still a reality. Like it's still a poor country, so it's still the same.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Sorry to interrupt. That's actually my concern, that when you are known as the Bitcoin person there, the Bitcoin kind of teacher or educator, there is going to be a lot of attention on you. They are like, okay, this person has a lot of money on his hand. They don't know
yeah.
that I have lost all my Bitcoin in a boating accident, and my interest in Bitcoin is just a kind of academic interest. So, do you think that it's going to be unsafe with respect to that? And it is, from what I understand, it's already unsafe. Yeah.
Well, it's unsafe in in Europe in general. Like I think just in France, since the beginning of the year, we had 3 or 4 cases of people being abducted and kidnapped just because they had crypto in general. There is one of the founder of
Yeah. Yes.
Ledger.
Ledger. Yes.
Yeah. So it's a problem in Europe, and I think it's a problem everywhere. So of course, in any country, if you show that you're a bit wealthy, then there is risk that you're attacked. And Bitcoin is just maybe another way, because as a Bitcoiner, when you go in El Salvador, you want to show, you want to talk about Bitcoin to people, so they accept it or they use it, and so it's more visible. And for sure, it's a risk. But so far in El Salvador, I spent 1 month there. I've been out at any time in the day, any time in the night, and I never felt unsafe in any city I have been in, any village I have been. It was safe. Like I didn't felt scared at no time. But the thing is probably that if we have, I don't know, the government changing and other ideas coming to power, then maybe this might change. And this is a risk. Also, a risk is, even if Bukele stays in the power, what if he becomes crazy? Like power and money can turn people crazy. So what if himself changes? What if his motivation changes? What if his, I don't know, blackmail to do something? And I don't know. We don't know what can happen, because he has a lot of power in the government, and lots of people support him. I think it's around 90% of the approval. Then technically, he could do anything in the government. So himself is a risk too. Even though for now, what he does is mostly positive. He is himself a risk. So yeah, there is no perfect answer. It's for sure, when you go there, especially as a Bitcoiner, if you go in El Salvador, you have to be really careful and to be the most discreet as possible. But it's hard when you're a foreigner and you don't look Salvadorian.
And if the business you have is Bitcoin education, it's difficult to hide your
For
Bitcoin
sure.
wealth. Yeah. Um, what are your criticisms of Bukele? So many people get blinded by the fact that he's a Bitcoin president, and it's so frustrating. What I again loved your documentary about, and I have an MA in journalism, and I don't see much journalism around, and I really like the
Thank you.
fact that you looked at all these aspects. So, what are your criticisms of Bukele right now? You said if he becomes crazy, and he has done questionable things right now too. What are they, and what direction do you think they can get?
Honestly, I don't really know myself what I think about him. For sure, for example, so far when he took power or when he did something undemocratically, he did it for the people. So, for example, I talk about this in the documentary when he entered the assembly with some soldiers to force the assembly to vote his law. Then this is undemocratic, but he did this for the people, and the population, the Salvadoran population, welcomed this this action. So far, as soon as he does things in this sense, I think it's great because El Salvador have been corrupted since many years and still is in some ways. Like, it's still a reality. There is still corruption, and now maybe it changed sides, but there's still some I don't know, some corruption, like that we can still call it corruption for sure. And but maybe I'm not too documented, like to like I don't know much about all this, so I will not speak too much about all this. But there are still cases, people talking about corruption, about people being forced to leave their houses, and yeah, crazy stories. And but it's still something that can happen. And sorry, I lost a bit myself. And so for sure it's a risk, because now, like, what if he starts to do something against his population? What if he, I don't know, he just go on the opposite way, and he finds a way to make it accepted by the population? Then everything could change for sure. And so my opinion is, for now, he's a good leader, with parentheses, like with like good, I don't know,
Quotation marks. Mhm.
yeah, quotation marks. But it's hard to say, because he's a good leader, someone who centralized power. I don't think either, and this is what he's doing. He's literally centralizing power in his hand, in his party. So it's not good either. And then on the economical way, what he does seems to work, but it's not perfect either. It's not so liberal. It's not. Some people, compare him to Milei in Argentina, but it's really different. Milei is really radical, and Bukele is not. I wouldn't say that he's a liberal. Some people uh, describe him like that, but he is definitely not. He has some, I think, some base of liberalism, and he likes Bitcoin, so of course he understands these ideas. But yeah, I'm not convinced that his politic will be good over the long run, but it could be. And for example, lots of people, I heard a few times when I was there, a comparison between El Salvador now and Singapore 50 years ago. So I'm not an expert of Singapore, but in Singapore, for example, there was this dictatorship in place, and the dictator was a bit Bukele in his time, in his own time. So he took a lot of power, and from the beginning he said, "I take the power, but this is for the good of the country." And in 50 years, Singapore went from a really poor country to one of the richest in the world, but because this person took the power by force and made something good. But the thing is, in this topic, he stayed 50 years in the power. What if after 20 years he would have went crazy, or he would have been killed? It's still the same topic. So far, my opinion on Bukele is that he's doing good, but the way he does it is quite bad, and I don't see how it could end well, except with lots of chance. So yeah, that's the main risk and the main problem.
I can understand some of the things that he has done because I come from Iran, and uh, you have some awareness of Iran because of your ancestry. Uh, so if a good change is going to happen, it's not by a new president, because when you have a new president, it's still the same judges are in power. The same corrupt judiciary system is still in power. So a good president is not going to change anything, and that's just a joke. If a president does something against the law and that is changing the judiciary system, that is something that is going to change something. But is that according to the law? Is that something democratic? Definitely not. But is there a way around that? But when we make these exceptions, though, I mean, it's very complicated. At the same time, these changes are necessary. And what he has done is, though he's just a president and not a monarch or something, and he hasn't changed the regime, he's just a democratically elected president in the same country with the same rules. What he has done is a kind of a revolution, and some things were necessary. And without them, the corruption would have continued at the pace that they were going. But if we make this exception for people, then they stay in power. They say that, okay, I did it that time. It was for good reason. Now I'm going to do it more. That's a very slippery slope. But I can also understand, coming from Iran, maybe it is more difficult for you who have lived all your life in France, or someone from Poland, from Germany. Um, what's your ideas about those changes that he made in the judiciary system and the judges that he kind of retired or expelled?
Yeah,
And
so it's
especially about this practice, do you think it justified, or do you think that it is a very bad precedence?
the thing is, I agree with you. If you want to make to have an impact on your country on the long run, then you need the same ideas who runs the country for many years. So one of the best ways, of course, to keep the same person, even though it's not perfect, but it's one of the best way that we found so far. So for sure. But so and what Bukele did so far with his judges and with the probably all his politics since the beginning was in this way, was to put laws and to prepare something for the long run, even though it takes time and we don't see effects right now. For example, with the Bitcoin law, we don't see any changes on Bitcoin or on El Salvador because of that right now. But it's on the long run, and it will give, I think, benefits on the long run. And so about this judges, it's so maybe to describe a bit what's the situation is that before Bukele, the judges were corrupt. Some people say that it still is now, but it's just corrupted towards Bukele. But they were clearly corrupted back in the days. For example, in 2003, the president, that I forgot the name, who was in the power at this moment, made a law and tried to make the same as Bukele, which is just putting in jail all gangs member and like a life sentence for them. But the judges, the constitution judges said that this action was not correct and not constitutional, so it has to be reversed. So in 2003, 20,000 people, gangs member, were arrested, then released, and it was one of the most violent year, with the most murders of the history of El Salvador since the civil war, because the gangs wanted to have a revenge and to just make gang stuff and kill people. I don't really understand why, but this is what gangs do. So when he came in power, he still had in mind, when Bukele came in power, he still had in mind that these judges could do the same to him because they answer to the same group of people, to the same interests. So if Bukele tries to fight the gangs, but they're still the same people who manages the constitution, then the same will happen again. And so what he did is that he just retired them by force, and he put some allies at their place, and then he have been able to make anything he wanted. And so he have been able to fight the gangs without any problem with his judges, and as well he have been able to find a way to represent himself and to run another time for the president elections, and he have been elected. So without this, probably that Bukele wouldn't have fought the gangs, and he probably would not be president anymore. Which is, to come back to what I was saying before, our choices that are strong and maybe radical and maybe extreme for some people, but it was necessary so his politics can continue over the long run, which for now looks like a good thing for the future of the country.
Something that is not related to El Salvador, but we touched upon, and I promised that we talk about, was CBDCs in Europe. Let's come
Yeah.
back to where we live. And I was discussing with another Bitcoiner friend of mine, and we were so enthusiastic about this CBDC. We are hoping them that they launch it. And there are so many shortcomings in any company. If you have worked in a corporation, you can see that they hire someone, they are good, they do not pay much attention, they easily let go of people, uh, and they do at the same time they do not fire the people that are not doing a good job, or they are just doing the bare minimum, sometimes because of the laws, sometimes because of, I don't know, some reason that I don't know about. They just keep people that are not competent, and maybe 3% of the workforce is competent. In entrepreneurships you see much less of that, but in big corporations that's very common, that someone has made an article, someone has written a code with bad documentation, and the next person comes because that competent person with the bad documentation has gone away, and that person who replaces him doesn't know what the fuck the other person has done, and they cannot build up on that, and the code becomes so shitty over time, and so kind of excessive. There is so much in it that can be removed, so much junk that can be removed, but they cannot touch it, or the processes get in the way. And imagine we had Bybit, that was an exchange. It was a big company, but it was not a long-standing company as so many of the others. They made a huge mistake and lost a huge amount of funds in Ethereum. Uh, and it was the it was the founder or the CEO who made the last signature, and this is their own money that they are losing. Imagine the government does that, the European Union makes its own CBDC, and all these problems happen, and it is not their money, and they will make a lot of mistakes. So that's going to be really interesting from our point of view. What's going to happen if they start it? There are going to be so many fuck ups, and I really pray to God that it happens, because if it happens, it's going to be so funny. What are your views on the CBDC? If they can pull it off, what if they can pull it off? Do you think it is funny, or and they are going to fail miserably, or do you think it is dangerous, or whatever?
I think a bit of all of this. I think first it will fail, and then they will find a way to make it accepted, unless we stop them before. It's hard to say because, for sure, when the government does something, it generally doesn't work. And so I think for sure there will be fails, just like with the Chivo wallet that we were talking before.
Exactly.
And so yeah, we can make also this parallel between CBDC and Bitcoin on Chivo wallet, which is quite the same, programmable, censorable, and everything. But honestly, I don't know. The thing is, they were thinking to prepare the CBDC in Europe for 2027, which is in over 2 years, because I think it's by the end of the year of 2027, so 2 years and a half or something. And because Trump came and started to talk about Bitcoin to ban CBDCs, Europe was like, yeah, we are smarter than Trump, we're better than him, so let's do the opposite. And then they push and made it even faster. So now they plan for the end of the year, I think. And honestly, because they were planning to take 2 more years and that they will just rush it in 6 months or so, then for sure it will fail. In some ways, it will have bugs, it will have problems, and this is inevitable. There will be problems, but because they are the governments and because people are just following what the government says, and because probably the government will just do like Bukele and just give free money, or they will be like, yeah, the money that you have that you gain from your salary, if you don't spend it until this date, then you will lose it. So people will just use it and they will just say, yes, please continue. I like being your slave. And I think because they are in the position of the government, it will succeed even though it will fail at first.
Marius, you started, or when I got to know you, of course, it wasn't your starting point, but first work in Bitcoin or crypto in general that I learned that you were doing was the article that you wrote about Iran. And then you made a documentary film on El Salvador. It was a huge leap from writing to video, and it was a professionally made video. How did you make that jump, and what is going to be your next project?
How did I make the jump? Well, I have a past of I have an old YouTube channel that I deleted almost all the videos, I think, when I was younger. So I have a bit of experience as an amateur of video making, and I always wanted to make video. And last year I started to make videos for the media I work for, and also I wanted to go in El Salvador, but I thought that if I go in El Salvador and I just make articles, then it would not have the reach that it really deserves, because I had a huge project in mind. And so I thought I had to make the video, and I don't know, it's stupid to say, but I just did it. I had the idea and I was like, okay, I need to film. I have a camera, I have microphones. I just go and I just film. And I did it the best way. I watched lots of tutorials. I had people to help me, to give me advices. I went there with someone that also knows a bit how to film. So that's why also the images are so good. The images that looks not so good, like the interviews, there is I think 2 interviews that are lower quality, is because I filmed them myself. But yeah, so I just found people to help me and learn by myself, just like I did with everything, and I just did it. And I think it's a good way to do. Just if you have an idea and you think, there is this singer in a French song that says something really stupid, but that is so true and always resonated in me. He said, if you want to make videos, then you just need something who films. And this is the same idea I want to apply to anything. And it makes 2 years now I make articles and everything, but I never wrote anything before I really started. This report on Iran was probably the first or the second paper I was doing like that. So yeah, I just do stuff. And the next project, well, I have lots of ideas still in videos and maybe another concept. I think there's a huge topic that is really interesting, is the way countries will tax Bitcoin, because I think this is one of the best and most efficient way to attack Bitcoin, which is just increasing capital gains taxes. So if now you say, okay, now you can use Bitcoin as you want, but you have 50%, 60%, 70% capital
Italy
gains,
did it.
then yeah, like who will use it? It's already 30%, I think, in Europe mainly, but it's already a lot. But it's the best way to prevent from people using it as a currency. And So of course, I think it will not work, but I think at least in the short term, it will be a huge attack and a good way for government to prohibit it and to try to take control on it. So I have some ideas on how to investigate on that, and maybe this will be the subject for a next interview in 1 year.
Maybe
Or
Bitcoin in
more.
Italy, yeah. Bitcoin in Iran, Bitcoin in El Salvador, and now Bitcoin in Italy, maybe. Because they are
Yeah,
notorious for the law that they introduced regarding taxes.
yeah, or Bitcoin in Europe in general, maybe making a tour of several countries, meeting politicians and investigating. Well, I will not say too much, but I have some ideas and probably adding another country to my list, and or several ones.
Some part that I didn't get exactly. What was the quote from the French artist that you mentioned? For filming, you need what?
Just something to film,
Oh, just something to
like
film. Oh,
like a
okay.
camera, for
Now I get
example.
it. Like, oh, okay. So you have it. You can start filming. Interesting.
Yeah,
All right.
so basically he says if you want to make videos, you don't need a. He said that because if you want to make videos, you don't need a professional camera that costs, I don't know, 1,000 euros. You just need even a webcam that costs 10 euros is enough to do stuff. Of course, it's not perfect, but you can still do something.
Yeah, definitely. There are videos that have aged well, or the experience never dies. The experience will never die on you, and it will stay with you. Marius, thank you so much, and it was a great chat. I would have continued it longer and longer. If you find yourself in Poland, let me know. I would
Maybe
really
soon,
love
yeah.
to meet you. Yeah, nice. I would really love to meet you in person, and maybe we can record another interview too. And let us know how we can follow your work.
Mainly on Twitter. That's the main network that I use. I share almost everything I do, and I will try to be more present on Nostr too, but mostly Twitter. Yeah,
I don't have you
on
there.
X.
I am huge on Noster. I would have talked about it half of the interview if I knew about that you are on it. So send me your public key. I will also drop it
Sure.
in the description. So I'm big on
Great.
Noster, and I'm. They say don't spend Bitcoin. I'm spending on Zaps a lot. I'm spending generational wealth on posts. That's another topic to really talk one session about. Don't you
Yeah,
agree?
it's a whole thing. We could make a whole documentary on this for sure.
Yeah, thanks for everyone who was with us. Thanks to all who are viewing the video or listening to the audio podcast, which is going to be one day after the video version. And thank you again, Marius. Hoping to see you again.
Thank you for the invitation.